All right, we're rolling.
We're back.
So what do you think of the Pereira and Roundtree fight?
Oh, man. Well, I didn't watch the whole card, and people yelled at me.
There was a fight this weekend. I actually wanted to talk about this. Did you watch the Bivol Beterbiev fight?
No, I was with JP literally as the fight was going on. When we got in the car, you might have texted me. Like, was it you that texted me?
Oh, yeah.
Beterbiev won. And it was like as I was getting out of the apex from JP, and I was like,
holy shit. The best story from all of this. So one, okay, I don't know, you know, I've dealt with this stuff too, like the domestic and the accusations versus what's real. We got to figure all this stuff out.
Oh, tell me more.
So Bivol's ex-wife, she said that he's roughing her up a little bit. Did you see what she sent Beterbiev?
No.
Oh my God. So she slides into Beterbiev's DM and she goes, hey, just so you know, he's broken both of his hands multiple times. He's got a little tendonitis in his elbow. He got rocked in training. His right cheek is fractured a little bit, and he gets very, very tired very easily. She was like listing all of this shit. She goes, "Good luck, Arthur. You're gonna need," or like Godspeed or something like that. Like she's fucking spiteful,
gangster. And
then I was laughing. The comments are always the best. So she's watching the fight and she goes, Arthur, like, woo. She was like so happy. She goes, Bivol, that's what you get, you piece of shit. And then someone's comment was, they go, she's not even watching on the pay-per-view or ESPN. She's watching on Crackstream. She really don't want him to get $1. She don't even want to contribute towards him.
She's not even paying for it.
That's funny. But I just laugh because, you know, people were like, man, that was such a letdown. It wasn't the fight that we anticipated, but it's like, what more did you want from a fight? You know, it was like Canelo and Floyd back in the day. Dude, that was a masterclass of boxing to me. Canelo was still really good. Floyd did everything that he should, and it was beautiful boxing. I don't know what people are expecting. Beterbiev to go in there and knock him out, and that's a
boxing,
good fight.
Like, what are you expecting ever when you have two highly ranked fighters main eventing? Like, it's always a decision. Nobody's ever getting, not ever. I don't mean that. Fucking 28 people in the comments are going to throw every fight ever.
Yeah.
No, but like they're so competitive, like that high of level fights aren't going to be blowouts.
Well, that fight gave me, that fight gave me exactly what I wanted from it. We saw the fast punching and the elusiveness of Bivol. He looked excellent. And then we saw the hard punching and like clean, just traditional style of Beterbiev. It was everything that I imagined that fight was going to be. So I don't know what else you needed. Like, that's the two highest level guys, and we got to see them compete, and it was perfect to me.
Yeah, I guess people always want carnage. Nobody ever wants a Super Bowl that ends 3-3. They don't want the defense. They want 28-54.
I'm with that. You know,
I get it. I absolutely get it. I get it. But like when it happens, great. But you kind of expect when teams are matched up very competitively, when fighters are matched up competitively, that it's not going to be these big blowouts. That's the whole thing, is generally it won't. And when it does happen, it's unexpected, which is what the excitement is, because you expect them to kind of go the distance.
Do you have a favorite fight of all time?
One of them might be Paul Daly, Nick Diaz.
Wow,
like, that one comes to mind. Like that is, or maybe like the best round of fighting ever. That might be the best singular round of fighting there is. In terms of overall fight on the spot, I would have to think about it a little bit, but that one comes to my mind as just like
so many really, really.
I would watch that 100 times.
So I have two, and they're kind of for different reasons. So my first favorite fight that I ever had, and so, you know, we talk about finishes and carnage. I talk about this all the time as a jiu-jitsu guy, and this was way back when I first started, so I was very impressionable. Alan Belcher and Rousimar Palhares.
Yes.
Fucking love that fight, because Alan was supposed to get killed, and this was back when Rousimar was ripping everyone's legs off and not honoring taps and just hurting people. Went to Brazil and then engaged in a leg lock battle with the guy who's ripping everyone's legs off, and then beats him at his own game and TKOs him. It was incredible. I love that fight. But my other favorite fight, and this is going to be really anticlimactic because it's not a title fight. It's not a crazy knockout. This is going to be so funny. Lando Venata versus Mike Grundy is my favorite fight of all time. From a beautiful display of mixed martial arts. Lando like is so good. Everything he did in that fight, takedown defense, stand-ups, striking, like everything he did to me was a perfect fight, and it was such a good display of skills. Now there's fights that are more entertaining for sure, like slugfest, go back and forth, but I thought that was a beautiful display. So I don't know. I love boxing fights. I love watching that stuff. I thought it was a really good fight. You know, how it was scored was really interesting too. Like, Bivol would land 15 punches on him, and then Beterbiev is kind of blocking him, and he'll land 3 big power punches, and then it's like, all right, well, who do we give the round to?
How do you damage volume? Like, where does that go?
And he looks so awkward with his big high socks, and just he looks awkward. But great fight. I thought it was super entertaining. Good week of fights. I kept smashing the live Beterbiev by decision line.
I saw you sent me that. It's like,
yeah,
like Beterbiev money line, and then it was like Beterbiev money line like after round 1, then Beterbiev live round 2. It was like you just kept going.
No. This was different. I only bet Beterbiev by decision. I got plus 700 to start. I put $1,000 on it, and then as the fight was going, I was looking at the other books and they were adjusting, but FanDuel wasn't changing at all. So I ended up putting $2,200 on Beterbiev by decision at like plus 700, plus 600, and plus 500.
That's what I mean is you kept smashing the same line just like again and again.
It's like 20-something $1,000 off that fight.
Awesome. You did well in BKFC too.
Oh, we almost swept BKFC. We lost 3 out of 4 underdogs. So we won 1 underdog, but then my whole chain, we swept everything.
The chain and the parlay and everything.
Yeah,
like, this is what you bet. If you like, here are some dogs I think are going to win, but that wasn't the...
So I have a pretty good system with bare knuckle right now. There's only one promotion in the world that like really truly tells you who the A side is. And it's always the person who comes out second, like almost without a doubt, always the person who comes out second, they want to win. And so I'll just give you guys, free game right now. So watch the bare knuckle weigh-ins. Okay. Anyone who comes out second is a big underdog. Just bet them. It's weird. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but they always end up like somehow, somewhere they're going to end up winning. Like just for example, there was a guy, Felipe Maia this weekend, who was 1-1 in bare knuckle. He gets dropped by everybody. Just this big, juiced up Brazilian, just getting dropped and then dropping people aggressive. Versus James Lilly, who's one of the best bare knuckle fighters on the planet. Now, Maia was like a plus 260 or something, and he came out second. I was like, all right, auto bet. And he knocked out James Lilly in the first round. It was beautiful. So that's kind of been my strategy is like, even there was a card in Utah, and there was like 3 underdogs that were plus 200 that all came out second, and every single one of them won. Actually, 9 out of 11 underdogs on that card won. So, yeah, I really like that strategy. Free game for you guys. But, yeah, we hit a plus 1,000 parlay on that, so it was cool.
What did you think of Royval and Tyra?
So, I said this on the podcast last week. You actually texted me after the second round, and you're like,
yeah.
See, I told you that was going to happen.
Yeah, well, I want to get to that. So, it's funny because what I said on the podcast was Royval is chaos, and if he can create more chaos, then he wins. But I don't think he will be able to. I think his chaos is going to fall right into Tyra's shot into a takedown into the back, which will negate the chaos. And I kind of thought it was going to be one or the other. Like Royval would be able to create the chaos for 5 rounds or to a finish, or Tyra was able to negate it for 5 rounds or get the finish with it. And it's so funny because they both were able to do it in their own when it was chaos. It was
such a long fight that
it went round for round. It was like round 1, I think, was the closest round. I think round 2, Tyra just shot and took his back, took him down, just completely grappled him, and that was a wrap. Round 3 was all Royval and all the chaos. Tyra couldn't get the takedown. I think it was round 4 where it's like Tyra's gotten the takedown again. He's doing it. And then round 5 was kind of like round 1. It was kind of back and forth and mixed. But
not round 5. Round 5 is when Royval took him down, got his back, was beating his ass.
Yeah, he beat his ass, but they switched positions a couple times. Like Tyra did get his back a little bit, and then, but no, Royval won that round, but it was like a little bit of both. They were kind of all over the place.
So I said this on the podcast last week. I said, I understand that Tyra, like everyone thinks is the future, but I said, I wouldn't like Royval in 5 rounds is a menace because that dude never gets tired and he's dangerous enough everywhere. And he's like modern Nick Diaz because he just taps. And then he was beating the shit out of Tyra. So I
wouldn't move his head at all.
And that was my worry about Tyra because I think, first of all, the back stuff that Tyra did, oh my God, that was incredible.
Wild, right?
Oh, he's like, as somebody, it's hard for me to give it up, especially on back takes. You and I are so good at taking backs and keeping backs. What he did, I couldn't do. Like, that was incredible. What he did was incredible, but it took a toll on his legs. And I said after round 2, everybody take a look at Tyra's legs. They're going to be gassed because I'll tell you guys, holding a body triangle for 5 minutes,
It's horrible.
It taxes your legs more than
way
anything.
worse than anyone on the other side.
Yeah, now you got to stand back up. And honestly, it's not that taxing to have a body triangle on you. So Royval gets up, already a cardio freak, and starts tagging him. So I was watching this fight, and I had a lot of money ending with Tyra, right? Like huge fucking parlays. And so I'm watching this with my girl, and I go, this was after Royval started beating his ass, and we thought Tyra was about to get finished. So I put $8,000 on it, right, at minus like 190 or something. And she goes, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, just I've been here before.
I need a hedge out.
Yeah. And then the next round, I bet another 2,000. And then going into the last round, he was plus 200. And I go, I have a bad feeling about this. Like, he was pretty gassed. Royval is he's a cardio freak, and he did this against Moreno too. 5th round, he took over. So I put another 1,000 on him. So I think in total I had 11K on him at different odds and different prices, but that saved my butt for sure.
Yeah, I think with Tyra, I think he just wasn't. I think Royval in 5 rounds was too soon, and I say that because on a technical level he was there, he could do it, but he never had a tough fight before that. Like there was, he had the Alex Perez fight, but that was 5 minutes of fighting. He never had and he had CJ Vergara, which was 15 minutes, but that was domination. Like it wasn't like he never had a real test. And then he had Royval at 5 rounds.
One thing that was lacking for me with him was his cage wrestling. His open mat wrestling is beautiful, but his cage wrestling, he just couldn't get Royval down. He didn't have more than try to shuck to the back.
He wasn't, honestly, his pre-UFC stuff on the cage, he was sliding out to the back better than I saw in this fight. And maybe that's the opponent or something. Royval is, of course, a better fighter than that. But Royval also landed a couple good knees in some weird transitions, which I think hurt Tyra. So I think him being on the legs a few times, I think he was actually hurt, and he was like, let me just maintain here a little bit. I'm wobbled.
Interesting. I guess we see where they go from there. But, I love Royval's attitude. I used to hate Royval. I used to think he was like a wild, crazy maniac. But the dude is really determined. And I liked what he said was like, hey, Tyra's going to be a champion someday, just not today. Yeah. And I love that attitude. And he went out there and brought it. So great fight. I did warn. I was like, hey, I'll be careful of this one. Royval in 5 rounds is real tough. But
we have
a card.
We have a card. Before we get to the card, join the Patreon and the Discord. Do it. It's $25.
And we just did a plus 1,000 last week. So next week we have another bare knuckle. It's going to be a good one.
It's so funny. People get so caught up on the UFC betting, but this season with Contender, I did really well. And you do really well with BKFC. We put UFC bets out there, but remember, they're just so competitive. But the real money is...
If I could quit betting UFC altogether, I would. It's just with the decisions and just the random fumbles and the steroids, it's like, I don't know where to go with it. At least on the regional scene, all things are equal.
Oh my gosh. Regional, Contender, BKFC. Anyway, join links in the link is in the description. Do it. Let's get into this card. Let's go.
All right, cool. Opening the card, we have Robelis Despaigne minus 450 versus Austen Lane at plus 350.
Are you gonna fight with blonde hair?
Nah, dude. I think I'm gonna go back to the brown hair soon. I was actually just talking to my sister about this yesterday.
I actually really like it. I think it's a good look for you.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. My mind isn't made up. My sister wants me to keep it, but I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, blonde Elvis Brenner was a thing.
Producer Camuela is fighting November 2nd here in Phoenix, Arizona.
No, November 8th?
November 8th.
November 8th, whatever. Fuck off.
Potato.
Yeah, same thing. He's fighting November 8th. And, the last guy to give Esteban Ribovic a really, really, really tough fight. So, the return and then a couple more, get back in the UFC.
Appreciate it, brother.
You take that Argentinian back out. Fuck him.
Let's go.
All right, who's fighting in? Robert
Robelis and Austen Lane.
I called him Robert. Well, the line is crazy to me, just being is that there's one massive glaring hole. A lot was made about his cardio the last fight, especially against Waldo Cortez Acosta. And honestly, I thought his cardio looked fine. Even round 3, he was still swinging on him, still throwing big punches. I think his cardio was fine. Just his technical get-ups are so poor. And he's just too big. Actually, this is something else we talked about. Even my pro debut, right? The guy I fought was 6'2" as a flyweight. And so when I took him down, him being able to put hooks in and work his way back up was near impossible because I'm not small, but I was smaller than him. So I'm tight and compact. So him to fit his leg in to work a hook or stand up was real hard. Now you got a guy who's 6'7" and primarily a striker. That's very tough. Now, lucky for him, he's fighting Austen Lane. It's weird. Austen Lane, I feel like if he started MMA way earlier, he could have a lot of potential because he really is athletic. He moves really well. He's just kind of an idiot. I think he's going to get knocked out in this fight, probably. Even if he does get him down round 1, then you have, at least a minute or two for Robelis to swing on him again in round 2, and same thing in round 3. I think eventually Lane, who's shown chin and durability issues before, I think it's going to come play again. But, this line is, for me, it's a little out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, the line is kind of crazy considering that Lane could just take him down. And we saw that with...
He's athletic enough to just run at him.
And we've seen him just blast double people before against his last fight. Was it Hernandez?
Denise,
yeah, Denise. And we saw that right off the bat. I mean, he took him down and controlled the whole round. And then Denise stopped the shot after that and put him on death's door. But
it's just so funny, like watching him fight Waldo. Waldo would just stand on the cage and just like shell up and then just like reach over and then still got him down.
Yes. And that's actually one thing trying to compare Waldo and Austen Lane is you kind of, because that's what you have to kind of do with this fight. Does Austen Lane not get punched and be able to get Robelis down like Waldo was? I will say
Waldo is much more durable, better chin.
Well, he's durable, better chin, but he also has better technical boxing. And so he was able to shell up when he needed to draw Robelis in and then shoot, where Austen Lane doesn't have the technical boxing of Waldo, and he tends to reach with his hands back. And I think Robelis should be able to tag him in those transitions. I don't know. I think, I wonder what the odds are on Robelis by KO, because
they're not going to be great. Usually for the Robelis fights, like, your typical KO line is his KO line under 60 seconds.
Yeah. And so you just got to look, if you find a good, like, Robelis inside the distance, Robelis KO, if it makes better financial sense, but maybe you take that. But again, it's hard because he can get taken down so easily. It was comical.
And how much work has he done in that time?
Yes,
it's not been a long time.
So, and Lane, the thing with Lane though, is he can ground and pound and he'll stand up and swing way more than Waldo will. Waldo took him down and just held him. I mean, we've seen Lane get on top and swing big hammers. I think Robelis is more athletic than the guy he TKO'd on Contender doing that. But I mean, you would assume like the smart play is, I mean, Robelis by knockout, but man, it's hard at that line with the glaring hole that he has. So yeah.
You got something to say, producer? No. All right, well, then let's do that.
I think you guys are crushing it, man. Got nothing to add.
Let's stop while we're ahead.
All right, next we have Alice Ardelean plus 120 versus Melissa Martinez at minus 140.
Did you ever train this girl?
Who?
Super Mel?
I've never seen either of these people.
This is David's sister.
Who?
Black Spartan.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, then immediately I say she wins.
Because you didn't look at this.
Well, no, but that doesn't matter because remember last week I didn't look at it either, but I knew Corey McKenna and she won that fight on one judge's scorecard and I thought she was robbed. And my logic holds supreme. I didn't know either of them, didn't watch tape, but I knew the name Corey McKenna. And so I was 100% certain she was going to win.
Why
did she got robbed.
I bet her. And
did you?
I knew she was going to get dogged out.
I don't even know. Yeah, no, I didn't know that this was his sister, but man, he looked really good in Contender. So yeah,
I couldn't tell. There was sometimes he was like wobbling, and I'm like, did he just get like cracked? Like, but he did look good. Cardio looked great. He's slippery. This is an interesting one to me. I think all the women's fights are very, very tough for me actually on this card because I look at Super Mel and she's got kind of the thing. I'm a pretty big flyweight if I could ever even make flyweight again,
or a small featherweight at this point.
Yeah, probably. I woke up at 160 today.
Did you really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, geez. Man.
Yeah. But my point of that is that's just the lowest weight class. And then you have guys that, I train with and I compete with. They walk around at like 132 pounds. And we're the same weight class technically, even though I weigh 160 and they weigh 130, because that's just the lowest limit. And so I'm looking at this fight and Elise or Alice or whatever the hell her name is, she's thick. She's big for the weight class. And Super Melly is very tiny. She's a little tiny thing. That makes this really tough for me because Ardelean, I don't know. However, I'm going to call her AA. She is physical. She does crack hard. She can throw girls down. And I worry just about the physicality, although I give the cardio edge and just probably the volume edge to Martinez here. What I think this fight's going to go, I think Elise is going to win the first round. And then I think Martinez is going to start taking over, out-voluming her, pushing the cardio pace, because that's one thing. She just doesn't stop. She's constantly moving, constantly going. But I don't think Elise is a bad dog here because of the physicality, and she's not a bad striker. She definitely has some good aspects to her game. But I'm going to choose Super Mel Martinez on this one in a very, very slim margin fight.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Coach?
I agree.
Okay, sweet. All right,
we're all in agreement. All right, next up, we have another women's fight. We have Jessica Penne plus 140 versus Elise Reed minus 160.
I'll talk about these next two a little bit. I didn't watch film on this or the next one because,
Jessica Penne has the highest arches I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Shit's like the Golden Gate Bridge. It's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you noticed that. Not that the arches are that
I'm
big.
into the toes
into
and
the
stuff.
feet
Yeah.
thing. No, but I've seen both these next two groups of women fight enough to say a little bit on it. Again, I take what I'm saying with a grain of salt because I didn't watch film. But Jessica Penne is 41, and she was out forever. And she is a good enough grappler when people are willing to grapple with her. The issue is she doesn't have the takedowns to get the grappling where she wants. And she does a good job of swinging to the back and shooting and hanging, kind of body lock, getting to the back, pulling people down, or in scrambles, dragging stuff the way that she wants. But her entrances aren't great when people don't want to engage.
She pulls guard a lot of times.
Yeah, and she'll pull guard because she can't get what she wants. And her striking is very labored, even more so than it was years ago.
She jabs how you were telling me not to jab today.
Oh,
heavy on the front foot.
It's
slow.
She has turned to molasses. It's in her age. And Elise Reed, for as limited as her ground is, and
it's gotten better.
It has gotten better, but it just overall, she has such a hard style to grab a hold of, and she moves well, and she has a lateral movement. She has that karate style where she's going to just be moving and kicking and moving and kicking. And I just can't trust Penne to blast double Elise Reed to the mat somehow. And Elise Reed, for as one-dimensional as she is, she does a good job of not engaging in she Wonder Boys it well. She knows I don't want to grab. I'm not going to clinch. I'm not going to do this stuff. And she moves well. So I like Elise Reed here. I could see a later stoppage just because Elise Reed isn't. If Elise Reed, I think, wanted to put a stamp on her, she might, but I just don't think that she just, touches a move so much.
What would you say if I told you that Elise Reed beat Jasmine Jasdavicius?
I know. Isn't that crazy?
I thought it was a robbery, but that's just insane. Yeah. Just considering how big one is and how small the other is, that they actually fought and Elise came out on top, considering styles too.
And that was a long time ago when Elise didn't have as good of takedown defense as she does
crazy.
Now. Yeah, that's wild. I can't fathom that. So I like Elise here.
I've been back and forth on this one. The odds are, producer, what's the odds?
Penne is plus 140. Reed is minus 160.
I mean, that's not really bad odds for Elise. Here's the one thing that I worry about. Yes, Penne's takedowns are awful. But she's very tough. She can take a beating, right? Didn't she get the shit kicked out of her by JJ?
Yep.
Bad. And she stood in there. She took it like a champ. So she is tough. She's very smart. She's got a good mind for the game. She's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And, one thing Dominic Cruz always talks about with her, obviously they train together, is how good her transitions are and her back takes and her jiu-jitsu is really, really good. And you can see that play out. She really is good once it's on the mat. The thing that I worry about for Elise, because on the feet, I think it should be all her. She's faster. She does the blitz in, blitz out. So I think it's one-way traffic pretty much on the feet. But God, here I go again. I always make a case for Penne, and
don't do it. Don't make a case.
Her wrestling sucks, and I think that's what Elise has defended the most. She's always prepared for someone to blast double her, scoot back to the cage, and get up. But when Penne grabs you, she just hangs and puts a hook in randomly, jumps over your back to try to take your back. She'll take it standing. She does weird stuff.
Well, you said it. She will shoot and then pull guard. So you shoot Elise sprawls, and then she pulls guard, and you kind of think, oh, I'm good here. I'm on top. And you get comfortable, and then all of a sudden Penne is like,
Now
oh,
she throws up a leg lock and she comes up on top.
Yeah, she sets a trap and comes up, and almost like
Yaya.
like Yaya, but Jillian
Robertson.
You know, I don't think she's as good as Jillian, but that same concept of like, even if Jillian can't get it, she'll pull a single leg into guard, come up and take the back. She scrambles well like that. Yes.
I think that she's actually probably as technical as Jillian. She's just not as fast. She's not as athletic.
I don't think she's probably as strong.
But that's actually exactly what I worry about, is like somehow, some way, she is tough enough to create some kind of grappling transition, and she just does it differently than most people. She'll hang. She's got good jiu-jitsu, got good submissions. So, man, this one is really tough for me. I just want to say I think that Elise is going to win just by activity, by youth, same kind of angles that we always go on. But, man, you know, Penne sub, if it's a crazy number, I think that's not a bad look.
Well, volume and cardio and age have always reigned supreme. And so if there was a massive line on it, I think it's a harder case. But being on a tight line, on a close line, you have volume, cardio, age, all in the favor of somebody at minus 160. I don't think that's a bad sign.
You know, I do want to shout out John Gray. He is the biggest Elise supporter on planet Earth. He finds her very delectable.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Next, we have Joselyne Edwards minus 240 versus Tamires Vidal plus 205.
Oh, I want to say something about, I just got a memory the other day. So, you know, the feet thing, right? Whatever. Some of us partake, some of us don't. And my friend John Gray, he loves some nice toes, right? So we were calling them dogs for a while, okay? So this was back when I was living with Vanessa. Got Vanessa to send John a video. She's like, all the dogs, whoop, 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 whoop. I've had a lot of people send John videos. I had Tracy send John a video.
Oh my gosh.
That shit's so funny, but I just got the memory. She didn't know what the context was or what it meant. She just said, hey, John, you know, all the dogs, whoop, 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 whoop. It was great.
What tells us about Joselyne, first of all, in person is huge. She's my size.
She's big on camera too. What do you mean?
She's bigger in person than she is on camera. I saw her recently at the Apex, or not the Apex, at the PI a few weeks ago, and I was like, damn, like she is huge.
You gave her the Kevin Hart.
I gave her the Kevin Hart. Damn. Like, I said like, damn. No, damn. Like, she's huge.
Well, do you have any interest in Joselyne Edwards as a, what is it, minus 220?
She is minus 240.
Do you have any interest in her as a minus 240 favorite?
Kind of a minus 240 favorite to go to a decision. Like Joselyne by decision, like what you find out what those odds are. If they get to minus 140 or 50, it's not bad. I don't think it's bad.
Yeah, this fight's really hard for me because I've always shit on Tamires Vidal. I've always thought she was like not very good. And it's weird because she's still not very good, but her striking has looked better in the UFC than it did pre-UFC. And she's not quitting nearly as much as she used to. She still does quit, and there's still some holes there. I don't know why I feel this line is wide also. Joselyne, we're not that far away from Joselyne being the person that they bring in to lose to everybody. Every new prospect that they have, everybody that they want to win, Joselyne was the one to answer the call to lose. And now she's got a few wins and a few, you know, things here or there. And now she's a minus 240 favorite. It seems like a wide line to me, although I do think she wins. Like, I think the striking is somewhat close. Vidal definitely swings harder. She cracks those good leg kicks and does that stuff. But the thing with Vidal is she only seems interested for one round. And then after that one round, it's pretty much over. And the other thing I think is going to be a huge play here is the takedown. So if Edwards starts mixing in the takedowns early, you know, she should cruise to a decision win here. But I don't know. This doesn't have interest in me. I'm not interested in Joselyne Edwards as a minus 240 favorite.
So I have been critical of Joselyne for a while now, since however long we've been doing the show. And I have been critical of Vidal for a while now as well.
I just don't like that she's a lesbian.
So that's the thing I most appreciate about her.
Oh.
Vidal, Edwards has, look, she was brought in to be the girl that people beat up on, whatever. But since then, she's gotten good.
Yeah.
She's gotten a lot better. She still has that front kick. Her boxing has gotten a lot better. Her wrestling she's gotten better. She's not bad now. And Vidal, I mean, just coming in awkward, swinging big punches, like you said, for a round. Is she going to knock Joselyne out? I don't think so. And then Joselyne takes over and keeps her at bay with that front kick and the long jab. And then if she clinches with her, she's going to out cage push her and control the position. If it goes to the ground, I would assume Joselyne would be the one on top doing most of all of the stuff. And Vidal is just kind of playing like, oh, don't punch me too hard. Don't submit me. Let me just survive and not die. And I like Joselyne here. I think she's gotten so much better. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I don't. The Joselyne that came into the UFC, no. The Joselyne that we see now, I think is actually decent.
She used to get taken down once and then just concede.
Yep, and that's
now
it.
she fights.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I like Joselyne here, and you got to remember a lot of these like. Look, the theme cards. You go to Australia, bet on all the Australians. You go to England, you bet the English.
What's the theme here?
That's the thing is there's not all of these cards are themed cards, and a lot of the Apex cards, we see it all the time with the Apex cards. A lot of the time they're both on 2-fight losing streaks. This isn't an A side and a B side. We have contractual obligations to get people fights. Here are 2 people who are on 2-fight losing streaks. Loser goes home. A lot of these cards are the weeding out process.
This card is actually so good for that. It's like a very even level of competition across the board.
I don't think there's an A side, B side. This is hey, we have to put on fights. That's what we do. And these 2 people are here. Let's let the better person win. And I think Joselyne is by far the better person.
All right, next we have Brad Katona plus 200 versus Jean Matsumoto minus 235.
Tell us how much you love Katona.
No, I don't love him. I think
love
him. I think he's sexy.
Not a good fighter, but man, looks great in a tuxedo.
Tuxedo. He looks great in his undies. I don't know what to even say about this fight. I think Jean Matsumoto is really, 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 really good. I just can't unsee Argueta beating him 2 rounds, taking him down over and over again. And Argueta's striking is horrible, and he slows a lot, and he still was up 2-0. Katona can mix everything in. I think he's not a bad striker. I mean, he's really good. Sometimes you worry about his output, but look at the what's the tall dude's name? What's his name?
Cody Gibson.
Cody Gibson, yeah. That fight was the most crazy output you'd ever seen. He never slowed down, never got tired. And then I think there is possibility for the grappling upside here, right? We saw in his last fight against Jesse Butler, he takes him down, dominates, controls him on top the entire fight. I get it's not a super exciting style, that fight, but he looked great on top, and he's been getting better, and he's been adding the grappling to his game. I think if he mixes everything in, he has a really, really good shot of winning this fight. Now look at John. John's not going to shoot on him. He's going to strike 100% of the time, and he is a really good striker. But paying $260 on this fight for a guy that's going to be in a stand-up fight primarily and defending takedowns, I think John is going to win. I think it's going to be a very, very, very close fight. And if you told me that Katona washed him and took him down all 3 rounds, I'd be like, oh, that makes sense to me. So I will pick Matsumoto to win. It's going to be a pass fight for me, or to me, it's a dog or pass as far as the betting angle.
I'm looking at Katona right now, and we've got since 2018. All right, since he got off the UFC show, since he got off the Ultimate Fighter, he has 1 win by finish, which is a guillotine in 2021. Other than that, every single win and loss is decision. All right. And he lost decision to Armfield. He lost to our guy, Hunter Azure. He beat Butler, beat Cody Gibson, all of these things. And I say that because we, even the the Armfield fight, when that was in Canada, I believe that was in Canada.
Yes. And it seemed like should have gone the other way.
No, it should have gone the other way. But beforehand for the podcast, I said, this is going to be a very close fight. And it's going to be that round could have gone to either of them, but he's in Canada, so he's going to get the nod. And he ended up not getting the nod, but I actually thought he should have gotten the nod. But it kind of played out how he thought, where it's like, man, these rounds are toss-up type stuff. Who do you give it to? And my point of that is Katona doesn't hurt people. Like, he doesn't dominate, and he doesn't do stuff that, like, in the eyes of the judges is like, wow, that was really dominant. That
He didn't even try to finish Jesse Butler.
Exactly. And so he's like touching and moving, and there's a lot of like stuff. There's a lot of filler, but there's not a lot of substance. And he can wrestle, and he can jujitsu, and he can strike, and he can do all of these things. He just never puts any sense of urgency on any of them. And then you have a guy on the other side who is very sense of urgency to try to finish people. Even his fight with Casey Tanner on the Contender Series, those two went at it, and it was a fight, and they were trying to finish. And then you bring up Argueta, but Argueta is going to just wrestle everyone to death, and he is going in and going. And Matsumoto, look, he got taken down. Yes, he does not have anywhere near as good of stand-ups as the kid that he just fought. Was it Cody Hatton?
Cody Hadden.
Who, man, looked amazing in that fight on his stand-ups and stuff. And I didn't think he was going to be able to handle Argueta's wrestling. I think Cody Hatton looking as good as he did. I don't think that's Argueta is bad. Argueta's taken everyone down and controlled them like that and done all that. I think Cody Hatton just, man, his ability to get back up was so good. I thought that was more of a testament to him. And I think Argueta is one of those guys that is probably cut from the UFC, but he's one of those guys that it's almost a shame he's cut from the UFC because he's really good. He's better than his record shows. It's like,
you think he's going to get cut?
Yeah. I mean, he's got like two no contests, like a draw.
They weren't his
loss.
fault, the no contest.
I know. Like, hey, well, one of those was a loss, and then it was a no contest, and then I think he probably gets cut. And I think he's one of those guys, almost like a Zalgis or like a Charles Johnson before he had his win streak. They're so good, and they're going to get cut type of thing. And you see these guys with bad records, but they put on these good performances. Maybe I'm biased because, well, I don't know. I mean, both of our guys, Hunter fought Katona and won, and John Matsumoto fought Casey and won. Well, Hunter beat Katona, Matsumoto beat Casey.
Yes.
So, but I just feel like
MMA math it for us. Tell us.
Yeah, I'm trying to MMA math this a little bit, but Matsumoto's cardio is unbelievable. And Katona has good cardio, don't get me wrong. But Matsumoto's just willingness to go in the fire and try to finish. And Katona has been hurt. And he has been hurt, and he doesn't hurt people. And so I'm going Matsumoto on this.
What do you think about MMA couples and where one's high level and one's low level? Do you think that wears on each other?
I've never thought of it. And I don't know that I think of it now.
Like, okay, because he's dating or married to Katie Saul or whatever, who's like a 500.
Who is?
Katona.
Okay.
Who's like a 500 MMA fighter.
All right.
Like, I don't know. I feel like champions breed champions. You know what I mean? So if you have one that's like 500 or less or kind of shitty, maybe it drags the boat down a little bit. It's a little heavyweight.
Maybe that's a thing.
Look at Grant and L. Dawson.
That was the best ever.
I heard that. That was funny. That was
awesome.
a good mic. Yeah.
Grant's doing a thing, man. And again, that ATT body triangle, come up on top punch.
Sick.
It's a thing. I'm going Matsumoto here, folks. And actually,
by finish
to the death, Matsumoto shaved ice. You need to go there. Go up to the North Shore. Shut the fuck up. You guys over here know what I'm talking about. You go to the North Shore and you go to Matsumoto Shave Ice and you enjoy yourself.
Holy shit, though. I do got to say, these Japanese Brazilians is a crazy breed. This is a crazy breed. Back when I was competing, I went against twins that were Japanese Brazilian. They live in Japan, but they're full Brazilian. It's a crazy breed. And then there's the little fat guy. Oh, I can't even remember his name. He fights in some promotion, maybe in Risen or some shit. He's a little fat Brazilian Japanese guy. He speaks fluent Japanese. This is a crazy subset.
Who's the guy who was in the UFC forever? John Jones slept him.
Lyoto,
isn't he Japanese Brazilian?
Crazy mix.
No can defend. Unless you're doing Shave Ice, and then that's pure Japanese. Matsumoto Shave Ice.
I just went bodies right now with one of the Mongolians. That shit hurt.
Yeah, don't do that.
We just beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, the Mongolians win.
Yeah.
All right, next we have Matheus and Nicolau. Plus 160 versus Asu Almabayev, minus 185.
Can you go first on this one?
I will. And before I do, though, do you like my shirt? This is Enzo's, my son's football team shirt.
I was going to ask about it actually to start the show, but we were chatting too much.
It was just a random. It's on the cheapest T-shirt material I've ever felt in my life. and I'm probably going to get microplastics in my skin because of it. But I thought, I'm gonna go with my boy Enzo. Anyway, you want to know what always messes me up is Matheus Nicolau. I always think, who's the guy that went scramble for scramble with Tagir?
Tim Elliott?
No, the Brazilian kid.
Nascimento.
I always get these two confused. And when I was looking at this fight initially, I'm looking at Isu, who I love his wrestling. And then I was like, man, how is his wrestling going to compare with Nascimento scrambly jiu-jitsu coming on top? And then I'm looking, I'm like, oh, these two people are not the same people. This is not what I thought it was. But Isu comes from a place called Ossetia. Are you familiar with that?
No, tell me.
Ossetia was in. You'll hear Cormier talking about Ossetia, about how it was Dagestan before Dagestan. But I'm not parroting Cormier, you son of guns. I am parroting Angel Cejudo, our wrestling coach. He is always talking about Ossetia. It's this place in Russia that I think is near the Kazakhstan border, something like that. It was basically where all of the good wrestlers in Europe came out of. And then what happened is, of course, Dagestan kind of became that. And you will see a lot of these, you'll see a lot of these wrestlers who all came up out of Dagestan, but the number one guy goes on to, be the Russian national champion, the Russian world champion, the Russian guy representing the Olympics. But the number two guy doesn't get the call. So he goes to Kazakhstan or Georgia or Belarus, and then is their champion. He's their national champion, then goes on to represent them in the Olympics. But you see a lot of these guys. But Ossetia was the original Dagestan. And that's where a lot of these old 80s and 90s world and Olympic champions came out of. So the wrestling pedigree is phenomenal. You just don't hear about it as much in our area as we are used to Dagestan with MMA. His wrestling is so freaking clean. And
I think it's much better than Dagestani wrestling.
Oh my gosh. It is so nice. His singles and then his transition from the single into the double and then single coming around to the back is phenomenal. He has clean striking, good clean boxing, a very Russian style striker. And I don't mean like a Dagestani Russian style. I mean like a traditional Russian style, very tempered. We were talking about it today, being on the back foot instead of being on the lead foot. Just he's springy and he's moving and that hand is floating and he comes in, he's always on balance and he measures stuff really well. I love it.
As you did that, Kamuela's he's like trying to dodge your punches as you just did that right now. I see him. He's getting ready for his fight. So he's like, there's not a moment to spare.
He's in fight mode. And then we have Nicolau on the other side who just floats. I mean, he didn't as much in his last fight, but man, he floats that cage so much on the back foot, forcing people to come in, and he touches and moves and touches and moves and runs and touches and moves. And I feel like Isu, his thing that worries me is, you said on the other one, is his size. He's so freaking little. And Nicolau's not massive, but that's what I worry about, is just size-wise.
He's a good size. Nicolau's my height. He's 5'7". He's a good height.
They list him at 5'6", which is technically a midget. So, and I do think he's your height. I like Isu here. I think his wrestling is going to be the differentiator. I think he's going to be able to get the control. And then if it does go to the ground, I think his scrambles and since we're not dealing with Alan Nascimento, I think the jiu-jitsu is going to be Isu's side.
What if it was Alan? Who would you pick?
Oh my gosh, I don't know, because that scrambly jiu-jitsu and come up on top, I'm like, damn.
And he's huge.
He hasn't made weight in 70 years.
Yeah, I don't think he can.
I like Isu here. I think he gets it done. I think it'll probably be a decision. That's where I'm at.
Right before Nicolau's second UFC stint, I was like watching his tape and I went, yo, this guy's going to be the champion. He is so good. So good. And now like seeing his like negative momentum, it's really crazy to me because he really is talented. He just looks awkward though sometimes. Like his boxing is phenomenal to me, but it looks awkward. It's like...
It's really phenomenal at a distance. When you close that range and you fire in the pocket, he does not have good fundamental. he gets hit and clipped. And we saw that with Perez.
Yes.
He's good when he's good and where he wants to fight. If you crowd that space or make him uncomfortable, he doesn't throw well in there.
Yeah. That's it. He just doesn't seem comfortable. I think honestly, that guy's got a complete game. I think he really is fantastic. He's such a good fighter. I think Osu's going to just, sometimes you look at fights and you look at rounds, you're just like, this person across from me, I can't wait to just get a hold of them and just like get into the fire. And Osu's not afraid to jump into the fire. I think you're actually getting a pretty good price on him. My biggest worry is just like, can he do enough to win rounds from on top? Because sometimes he gets caught without throwing a ton of punches, without doing a lot, just riding top time. And the thing that I worry about is just the scoring, right? If Nicolau finally gets up and lands 3 punches on him, and Osu can get hit, now he wins the round because of the top time's boring and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I think he's going to look at Nicolau like, all right, it's time to put on the wrestling clinic.
And one thing with Osu is he is at Killcliff, and just little by little by little, his striking is going to get better and better and better.
Yeah.
And
it's not like he's a huge liability on the feet.
No, not at all. Not at all. But just being there, being with Henry Hooft, I think Hooft sometimes in MMA, almost not Hooft, but just the camps in general. And you see this as sometimes like being so technically sound in kickboxing is fine. Like that's not a bad thing. But sometimes in MMA, you do need a little more of that karate-ish push and pull, what we start to see these days because it takes 2 people to have the fight that you want. And if somebody is like very fundamentally sound and we talked about again earlier, is kind of just their feet are in the ground and you have somebody else, a Basharat, who's like touch, move, touch, move, touch, move. Sometimes you lose fights just based on that. Hey, come here, swing with me. I don't think that's going to be an issue here. One, just the styles themselves, but I think Asu's striking still needs so much of that like technical foundation that it's only going to benefit him. Now, once he starts going against really high level 25ers where they understand that distance game, okay, now he's going to have to make some adjustments. But at this point, I think just the technical foundation and fundamentals are really what he needs.
Maybe it's good he's not the best striker yet because it's going to force him to wrestle and do what he's good at.
Exactly. He's not going to be comfortable enough to stand on that shield.
All right. I think we're both picking Osu.
All right, cool. Moving on to the main card, we have Darren Elkins at plus 105 versus Daniel Pineda at minus 125.
This fight reminds me so much of the main event. It's almost like the exact same dynamic as the main event to me. You have Pineda, who's super dangerous in the first round. The guy legitimately has some serious skills. Like he's a very good black belt, really good submissions. He cracks hard. That dude is very, very talented. And then he falls off the cliff. And Elkins is like, all right, don't get knocked out. Don't get knocked out. Don't get knocked out. Eventually I'm going to wear you down. But his grappling, oh my God, I rewatched the TJ Brown fight. Some of the stuff that Elkins does, that's high level black belt stuff. And you always look at Elkins and you're like, man, this guy kind of sucks. He's just so comfortable in what he does just on the ground. Like obviously striking, he's a mess. But on the ground, I mean, the guy just never feels worried. He's always comfortable. He always knows what he's going to do. I think I'm going to take Elkins in this fight. One thing I really respect about Elkins is that he does take a lot of damage, but he even in his last fight, when TJ was swinging on him, he does enough to stay guarded and stay in the fight and then work into his grappling. And, if Elkins shoots 1, 2, 3, 4 times, that 4 times is going to, Pineda is going to go into cardiac arrest, I feel. And Pineda is a good black belt, and he's definitely got some dangerous stuff. But I think Elkins is like the perfect mix of wrestler and jiu-jitsu guy. And he's so calm and so confident. I think a fun one here might be an Elkins submission. I think he could submit Pineda. Just positional, beating him up. Pineda gives up the neck. He's dog tired. Elkins sinks in that rear naked choke. So I like Elkins in this fight.
I can see that. Watching tape, these guys are both old and damaged. Like fucking, these guys they have been through.
They've been through it.
He's a 1982 Ford truck still
These
on the
two
road.
guys got some stories.
Yeah, with their original engines. Man, watching Pineda though at his very young age of too old to fight, he actually still is really fluid in his movements. Like Darren Elkins looks old and he moves old, and
he's looked old since he was 20.
Since he was young. Like
he's the original Leatherface, I think.
Yeah. He does, man. But Pineda is so smooth and he moves so well, and he just like where's your fountain of youth, man? But he does absolutely get tired, and he just fades so hard. The other thing that Pineda does, he has a really good guillotine, and I think that's one thing that Elkins has to be careful. Pineda,
he's so good at spinning out of it, though.
Well, that's the thing, is he's got to make sure that he doesn't get too confident in it and let it get too tight and go, oh shit, I let him get this tighter than I thought I would. Almost like what Tucker Lutz did, was like, oh, I can do this, and Pineda's like, I'll take your neck. Like I'm with you. I think Elkins has to be very careful in round 1, because Pineda will swing for the fences, and he will absolutely do it.
And he is good.
And Elkins is gonna shoot, and he's got to be very, very mindful of that guillotine in round 1, so he doesn't.
Very demure.
I don't even know what demure means, but I hear it all the time. He's got to be he's at ATT, right? Not Killcliff. Elkins. Is he at?
I thought he's a Team Alpha Male guy.
He was there for a long time, but for some reason I was thinking that he was.
I don't know. Cruz in his last fight was just talking about how he's still at TAM.
Okay, so he could very well be there. I for some reason I thought he moved, but anyway, I like Elkins. I think he's going to grind him. I think he's going to wear him out. He's got to be careful round 1. And then I was actually looking at Pineda, who I really like Pineda's style. I like a lot of what he does. If you look at his record, he's really honestly lost to everyone who's decent he's ever fought. And I was actually thinking that he was a lot better than he was. And then you look, and he looks really good, but he loses to all the A side, all the A guys. He beat Tucker again. That was probably one of his biggest wins. He beat Kovalev by flying knee, got popped for steroids. Now it's a no contest. You take them away, and all the way up through his career, if you look at everybody that he's fought, he's beaten all of these guys who you don't know, and any name that you recognize, he ended up losing against. And so I like Elkins. I think he wins.
Yeah, if Pineda doesn't put him out flush, this is a nightmare matchup for him.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Just hanging, being on him.
We know Elkins won't stop. Even if Elkins does get tired, he's going to keep grinding. I think you're right. The punching.
Elkins' fucking jiu-jitsu game is I love sometimes when I go into tape, and I just like when I discovered Sean Brady for the first time. This was years and years and years ago. Not years and years. It was like 2 years ago. When I discovered Sean Brady for the first time, I sat there and was like, holy shit, hold on. Let me get my notes out and start writing some stuff. Elkins was the same way. I love how he does the aerial stuff, right? There was the one thing on the cage where he like slid into the takedown, and it was actually going to be TJ that was going to come up on top. And he like jumped off the cage and spun to stay on the top. It was amazing. And every time someone tries to wrap his neck, he just does that little spin defense for the guillotine, and he comes back on top, re-wrestles you, takes your back. Like the dude's really,
What's
really
most
good.
Impressive to me is when he does get taken down or he does end up on the bottom, his ability to get back up flawlessly.
Well,
very impressive.
And usually when he does get back up, he re-wrestles into you, and he ends up on top. It's not like you cut him and they're standing again. So it's good. This is going to be a good fight. And if you tell me Pineda flatlines him, I would get it.
Hey, I get it. Yep.
All right, next we have Brady Hiestand at -150 versus Jake Hadley at +130.
Are we sitting this one out again?
No, I want to talk about this one.
Okay, let's hear.
And I want to talk about it because I was thinking about it. Jake spent time with us, but it's not like he has been here in a while. And I like Jake and whatever. We were mentioning off air, he's massive for 25. And I was rewatching his fight with Kieran, and then his fight before that with Cody Durden. And seeing his Skeletor emaciated self against Durden, and then seeing him against Lofnan was just insane different body compositions. But I really wanted to watch his Durden stuff because Durden is such a good wrestler, and and Brady's a good wrestler, and
Brady is huge though too.
He is massive, and it's a very different style of wrestling. It's a very different style of fight. But I was just curious to see like how he handled the whole bit. And our guy did not fought Brady, and I think if he had lasted 30 more seconds, he wins that fight. And it's one of the things I've said this before is I don't like cornering people who don't speak English well. Not for anything other than I feel like we're putting them at a disadvantage And I feel like maybe if Dana had understood me a little bit better in that last 30 seconds to a minute, maybe he would have gotten up and turned and done something. Same with AQ or Richie Lang just fought Rosas, where I was saying, and the thing with that, like Richie Lang, we have a Chinese translator with us, but they're not sitting next to us in the round. They make him go somewhere else. And in between round 2 and 3, I told Richie Lang, as I said, hey, it's 1-1. I said, if you can defend a takedown, you win. We have to defend this takedown. We cannot give it up. And if we do get taken down, everything you have to get back up. And I just don't know that was expressed well enough. And I feel like if I could have just a little bit more detail or emphasis on that, like maybe he wins that fight. And so whatever. I mean, I'm just saying that because I think Dana could have won that fight. Whatever. Then you have Jake Hadley here, who has really good boxing. We saw the Armfield fight. All right. So we saw him with Armfield. Armfield hurt Brady and kind of really went balls out, swinging, kind of gassed himself out. I think Hadley, with a southpaw stance, who he is, I think he can hurt Brady. I think he can. His body work. I think there's a lot of ways that he can hurt Brady. I think if he does get taken down, I don't know that he is I don't think that the jiu-jitsu is going to play the jiu-jitsu and the grappling that Brady has, because Armfield really doesn't have the jiu-jitsu that Hadley does. He's a better wrestler. He's not a better jiu-jitsu guy. And I think the issue with Hadley is that he stays on the bottom, and I hope that he works to get back up, creates scrambles, attacks a guillotine, moves.
It's a big mindset change for him to think that way.
Yes. But then
he's very confident in his jiu-jitsu.
Yes, but I think if he can just push it into the later rounds, I think that Brady fades as well. Like, he's not like Cody Durden. And I don't mean like he's going to fade that much, but Cody Durden just has a battery in him. Like, that dude just won't stop.
Even when he is. But Brady honestly is the same way. He got hurt so bad in that Armfield fight. They were both tired because they were both fighting. That was an insane pace that they were fighting. And like you say all the time, Brady, one thing I respect a lot about him, he's willing to just go into deep water and they're going to drown before him. Just a little bit more he has.
So I see this as a very close fight. The thing that at some point, Brady keeps getting hurt. And then people keep gassing themselves out. Dana did it, gassed himself out trying to finish him. Garrett did it. At some point, he's going to get hurt, and somebody's not going to gas themselves out finishing him. And I think that Hadley can do that. I think he can hurt him, and I think as long as he doesn't gas himself out, and I think his jiu-jitsu is good enough. Dana didn't have the technical jiu-jitsu to do what he needed.
Typical Mongolian.
Garrett didn't have the technical jiu-jitsu that he needed in those bad spots. I mean, look at Cody Durden throwing that Anaconda or Darsan, almost submitting Hadley getting out of it, like peeking out, finding his way on top and doing a lot of stuff. Hadley finding that triangle and going. I think that Hadley's jiu-jitsu is going to be the difference here. And normally you would think style versus style. I think, Brady gets taken down and you don't want the jiu-jitsu of Hadley but I think stylistically, I think his jiu-jitsu is going to pose problems, and I think he's going to be able to hurt Brady, and I'm going with Hadley here for the win.
So I don't really want to like pick a winner or anything. Hadley slides in my DMs all the time. So, I hope he wins. I really do hope he wins, especially I would like to see Brady lose eventually. It's all going to be just mindset and game planning. I think like literally if he works to the top or works to stand up, what was I going to say? The only thing is you were saying like he's going to hurt Brady. I don't think that Jake's a big puncher. He's a volume puncher and his boxing is really, really good, but I don't think he's a big, powerful puncher.
Do you need to be to hurt Brady?
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
I honestly think yes.
I want to touch on one other thing beforehand, then is the Durden thing. So I was watching Durden because Durden's a much better striker than Brady. Infinitely.
Yes,
Brady's striking is not very good. And he works it well enough to do what he needs to do. It's very clunky. And then you have an opposite stance fighter who's very comfortable fighting this way. And I think that Hadley can hurt Brady, whether it's to the body and then coming up and swinging. But I don't know that Garrett Armfield landed some big, beautiful bomb. He just hit him clean down the middle. And so I think Brady's so awkward and clunky in his striking that I think if stuff just lands, it's going to hurt him.
That's interesting. I think that watching Armfield, especially what he did to Zama or Kazama, whatever it was, he can punch. That dude can punch. He's short, stocky. Everything is quick to the target, and he can punch. I think he's a really big puncher. Dana, oh my God, Dana hits so hard. That's crazy how hard Dana hits. So I think he's a big puncher. And neither of them are the same as Hadley. Hadley is a much better boxer than both of them. He puts combos together. He works the body, works the head. I don't think that he's going to be able to hurt Brady, but I could definitely see him fighting off takedowns, counter grappling, and beating him up, and a war of attrition. Maybe that second, third round knockout is a thing.
And we always talk about damage versus control, and if Brady doesn't submit Jake, he's not a take you down and ground and pound and beat you. He's a take you down and hold and try and
find position,
grab you, position, and submit you. And so I think that alone is going to be an uphill battle with somebody.
I honestly worry about the size, though. Hadley was too massive for 25. I'm really happy. I think it's going to be better for him in his career that he moved up. I've never seen anything like that. His big body, and he shredded 24/7, shrinking down to 25. 35, much more energy. Obviously, he looked good in his last fight. But Brady is what Hadley was to 25. He's at 35.
Yeah, and so is Nathaniel Wood at 45 in a lot of these positions. And I think the better guys at 35 and the bigger, better guys at 35, I think are going to do that. But I don't think Brady's a top 35er. I think he's a very good 35er, and I think his
style's annoying.
Top 20.
His style's just very annoying.
But I don't think that Brady's a guy who's going to be top 5 or top 8, something like that. And
I know he's getting the Chiesa push.
He is, but I think he's very good at what he does. But I think a lot of that weight cut too is messing with his chin. I think Brady at 45 is going to be a much better fighter than he is at 35. And I think if he were to go to 45, I think he's actually going to find a lot better success based on his style in grabbing and grappling and having that chin to hold up a little bit more. I mean, almost like we saw with Aljo. It was like, oh, well, can he?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, can he get Calvin Kattar down? He looked amazing. I think Brady is a very good wrestler, and I think he's a very good grappler. I think up a weight class where he's not killing himself, I think he's going to be a better fighter.
All right, Jake, send him to 45. We're going Jake. Next one.
All right, next we have Sue Mudaerji plus 180 versus Charles Johnson minus 210.
What do you like here?
I think you have to go Charles, right? Sue.
Why? Why do you have to go Charles?
Well, I talked about this a lot. Like when I used to watch Sue, I was like, holy shit, I don't think I can fight anymore because I'm never going to beat a guy like this. And then you watch Sue go against Tim Elliott and just get taken down and submitted and so easy. Charles Johnson's a pretty complete fighter. I think on the feet, actually, this is a really close fight. Sue is that hands down sniper style. And Charles is really long. I mean, he sees things so well, and he's constant volume. He does take a little bit to kind of warm up, but then he's front kicks and jabs and little kicks. And I think this is the fight we see his grappling really come out to play. I mean, Big Bird said this to me a long time ago. He's like, yeah, but Sue's a white belt on the mat. And, that was so apparent in his last fight, right? Now we're seeing him back. Striking fight, I think this is really close. Grappling upside, I think, is big for Charles. So I'm going Charles here.
So I want to agree with you, but I have some questions. Have we, and I don't know this, I don't remember everything off the top of my head. Have we seen Charles ever offensively grapple and shoot and put that game plan together?
Yeah.
Against whom?
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure he did it pre-UFC. He did it to hold on, let me pull up.
I feel that Brazilian kid in the later rounds, he did later in the rounds.
I think he did it to Carly Pangolian.
So, but are we going to see that in the UFC?
He's been talking about getting a submission for a while. This is like an inside tip. I've been with him for 3 fight weeks or whatever, and one time just watching, and he's always saying, I'm going to submit this guy. I'm going to submit this guy. Now he's got the perfect opportunity to submit a white belt. I think we might see it here.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to that. I just am, because if Mudaerji, look, his grappling is not great. His wrestling is not great. He is a white belt in wrestling and jiu-jitsu.
His wrestling looked a lot better at some points in his career. They were talking about how he's been training with all the Dagestanis and all this stuff. And
well, I think a lot of strikers look very good with defending level 1 takedowns, but you start chaining stuff and then they fall apart a little bit.
He couldn't put away Matt Schnell.
And we saw Kopilov with like Fluffy Hernandez. We're going to see again, good level 1 defense. You start chaining and grinding and going. We saw that with Tim Elliott, like whatever. So if Johnson doesn't put a grappling heavy game plan together, does Mudaerji get tired? Does he gas out? Does he not? And if he doesn't, look, I think Charles Johnson has the better ways to win. His cardio is good. He has more ways to win. He does a lot of stuff really well. He's on a good winning streak. He's very good everywhere. If he doesn't put that game plan together and he just tries to go out there and wing it, I could see Mudaerji hurting Johnson, because when has Johnson fought anybody as tall as him?
That's also a big liability. I mean,
Yeah.
he got hurt a couple times pre-UFC also. And when he went to the UFC, that was always my biggest concern with him,
Yeah.
is that he leaves that chin out there and sometimes he gets tagged and sometimes he gets hurt.
Yeah. And Mudaerji in that opposite stance, normally you think, okay, I have a longer range here, I'm good. But he's so much taller and that range is there.
He's a sniper.
He's a sniper. So look, I think you're right with the Charles Johnson. Like, I think he should win. What are the odds on this?
Mudaerji's plus 180 and Johnson's minus 210.
Okay. I don't think that's crazy. I also think if there's a big oh shit upset, I think this could be the big oh shit upset
I could see
of the
it
card.
for sure.
So yeah, I like Johnson. I think he's going to win. Man, the UFC also wants all of the Chinese fighters to win. And so is there a better matchup for Mudaerji than Charles Johnson?
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that there is stylistically, like, if Johnson doesn't choose to grapple, I think this is a great fight for Mudaerji.
I think Charles is a much smarter fighter than a lot of people give it credit for. I think he's one guy that actually watches film and pays attention. And yeah, we'll see. I think this is lined actually pretty accurately, just based on everything. I love Stu, though. I think he's amazing too.
All right. In the co-main, we have Rob Font plus 325 versus Kyler Phillips minus 450.
I'll go on this because to me, this is a tee-up spot for Kyler to beat a name to break through to that higher echelon of fights. Rob Font is old, and it's a 3-round fight. If it's a 5-round fight, I might think differently because Kyler definitely gasses. And
he didn't last fight.
That's true.
He's been on the new plan.
True. He's on the new strength and conditioning plan. He's been running mountains in elevation. Yeah, you're right. But like the secret's out with Rob Font is he can't stop a takedown. And he can't get back up. And so you have Kyler Phillips, who has unbelievably great wrestling
and jiu-jitsu.
And great jiu-jitsu. And he's super dynamic and he's super athletic. And so, like, look, Rob Font has a beautiful jab and beautiful tight boxing, but that doesn't do you any good. We talked about it earlier. When you are agreeing to box and I am floating in and out of range, like, good luck with your boxing. Unless you can press forward and crowd and you can do that. But if you're just standing there and I'm going to touch and go and this and that, and Kyler is so in and out and he's so dynamic and he covers space so well.
Even if they were just boxing, I kind of pick Kyler too. Rob is jab, 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 jab. And Kyler is so fast. He makes incredible reads. He's going to counter that over the top, I think, the whole time.
I love Kyler Phillips here by a mile. My only question is it a finish or a decision? What are the odds again on this?
Kyler Phillips is minus 450.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that big of a line.
That's wild.
So then I don't even know if it's touchable because Font is durable and like is not getting finished all of these times.
There's always a first time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see this being the first time.
The kind of needs I think he needs something big to like put it there.
He needs a finish against one of these top guys to put him in the names.
They gave him the good spot for it.
They did, and because I think he can take Rob down and beat the. It's honestly, I screwed up last week. All right, last week I said Chidi wins. He's going to beat Gordon, and I could see it be a finish. And I said Grant Dawson is going to win, and it's going to be a decision. It was complete opposite on both of those.
Yeah,
and because Grant Dawson got that body triangle, came up on top. And he just ear-holed and elbowed Rafa Garcia, who has never been finished before. And I could see that being a situation with Kyler and Rob. So I think Kyler, if you want to throw him in as a parlay piece to help some stuff out, I think it's a great spot. Individually, Kyler inside the distance. I don't know if I would put sub or TKO because I think it could
Could
kind
either
of,
one.
yes, I think Kyler inside the distance, you look at those odds. I don't hate that at all.
All right, we're both on the. I don't have anything to add, Kyler. Yeah.
I don't know that there's much to say on that spot.
All right, so we're on to the main event. Anything you guys want to plug?
No, but my son just sent me the greatest text ever.
What do you say? That's what you laughed about.
I laughed. I looked and I laughed. And he said, he just said, shoe of 2024. They should get an award for this. And it's the pink Jordans. Jordan 4s.
Why an award?
And because they're amazing. Like, those are awesome.
Oh, he fucks with pink.
He does. And that's really it. That's all I got. I mean, of course, you guys go to our Discord, go to our Patreon. We love having you guys. I said it last week. Thanks for everyone there. We had quite a few signups this week, which was a lot of fun to see a lot of new faces.
Good. Well, they jumped in at the right time for bare knuckle.
Yeah, exactly. So jump on, all aboard the fucking Patreon train, bitches.
I pigeonholed myself the other day.
What'd you do?
Okay, I just got a text right now. My girlfriend's running, right? I taken her on 2 runs.
Mm-hmm.
She almost died both times. And so I was like, hey, you need to go buy some shoes, some brand new running shoes. They really do make a big difference. They make a huge difference.
They do.
Like, I ran in some shitty Nikes. My shins were about to fall off. I went back to the Sauconys. I'm like, okay, this is like running on clouds.
Sauconys are the best ever.
They're the best ever. So we go into this place. It's called Roadrunner Sports.
Oh, yeah. I go there.
It's great.
I bought my son, my 11-year-old. Oh, I'll let you finish. I'm interrupting this because at Roadrunner Sports, because
I know where you're going with this.
Like, shoes for an 11-year-old should be like $60 or something like that.
Yes.
And we went in there and he liked these shoes, Brooks, all black.
I know the
shoes.
Brooks. Yeah, they're the best.
And they're like $130 or whatever for like a 11-year-old size shoe. And I was like, gosh. And my older son, Enzo, is not like, he doesn't care about prices. And if you go into a shoe store, he's starting with the most expensive one. Lennox is so mindful, and he's the opposite.
Is he demure?
Maybe. So he gets we're trying on different shoes, and I don't tell him the price or anything. And so he tries on the Brooks, and he loves them and he wants them. Then he tried on this other shoe that was for sale, and it was like $60, but he didn't like them that much, and they were fine. And I was like, well, which one do you want? And he was like, which one is more expensive? And the Brooks are 2.5 times the price. And he's like, oh, no. Let's just get these other ones. Like, let's do it. Or we can go somewhere else. Like, I don't want to spend that much money. And I was like, dude, like, if you like the shoes, we'll get the shoes so you have a good pair of shoes. Because he's active and he runs.
It's important. Yeah.
And he is so like, he doesn't even, the shoes he was wearing yesterday at the park are Enzo's old. He literally will not buy. He's like, just give me Enzo's old cleats. Give me Enzo's old shoes. Give me Enzo. Like, he doesn't want to spend money on stuff. So we bought him that. Anyway, that's my Roadrunner Sports story.
Yeah. Exactly where I kind of heading is, it's so expensive there. It's so crazy. Expensive. So I'm big, a big proponent of good running shoes. C-Rod got me onto the Sauconys. So I got a pair of Sauconys, and then one day I was bored in California. I went to Roadrunner. I bought a new pair. So they do the thing where they map your foot and see which is the best one for you. They give you a few options. Okay. I chose this one where they get you is all the add-ons, right? So now they're like, hey, listen, I got flat feet. I wish I had some arches. They say that makes you stronger, but I got flat feet. And so they're like, hey, you really need some custom soles. What they don't tell you, the shoes are $130. The soles are $200 because they're custom and they cut them out. And they actually fucked up and cut it a little short. So went with my girlfriend the other day. She got mapped out, got a pair of shoes. And then they give you socks. They're like, hey, you're going to need these socks for it. The socks, $50. Okay. Then we're sitting there and she's like, yeah, I need something to like hold my phone. You got $50 socks?
The Balegas?
$50. I've heard they're worth it, but it's tough. So
wait, hold on. Do you remember I bought you? But I'm like, dude, you've got to wear these. Like, they're the best.
He's like, dude,
they're life changing.
He's like, hey man, you got to try these socks. He's like, dude, there are levels to socks.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I totally believe it. She went in thinking she was going to spend $130. She comes out $200 in because of the socks and the shoes. And so I grabbed these little running vests, and they're like nothing. It's like just a piece of cloth. It's like a vest with just a little water bottle compartment and then a pocket for your phone. I put those on the table. I was like, hey, you get the shoes. I know it was more than you thought.
Don't tell us how much it costs. Just keep going. We don't need all the pricing.
I grabbed these, $110 each for these like little tiny cloth vests.
This is why people hate you.
Little tiny cloth vests.
Tell us more how much you spent. How much more did you spend?
$220.
What else did you spend? How much was dinner afterwards? Tell us how expensive it was.
$400.
And how much was the hotel room?
$600.
Right? See, So just how much are you spend? So you spent $2,000 at Roadrunner is what you're saying.
I own half of Roadrunner at this point.
Tell us more how much money you spent.
So guys, go there, get custom insoles. We do have something to plug. All right, let's get to this main event.
All right, let's go.
All right. In the main event, let me pull this up.
While he's doing that, are you a Daniel Tosh fan?
Some. I mean, I humorous enough. Like
he has a podcast now and it's great. His humor is amazing. He is so funny. And he said that his fans hate when he talks about things that are expensive.
Yeah.
Whenever he's like, yeah, I got dividers for all of my cabinets. It cost me $20,000. I guess his poor fans are like, what the hell? So he goes, all right, guys, I got a podcast that's really going to piss you off today. He goes, I have the travel organizer for all the wealthiest people in the world. And the lady goes, yeah, it's $275,000 for us to work for you for 1 year. And she's like, we just do all the travel arrangements. You still pay for all the vacations, but that's
we
just to
put
have
it together.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. Brandon has a travel organizer.
$50K.
All right. In the main event, we have Michel Pereira plus 110 versus Anthony Hernandez minus 130.
This is almost the Robelis fight to me in a different way. Completely different ways. We have Pereira, who's looked great since moving up to middleweight. Yes. Well, actually, in entirety in the UFC, he's 9-2, but really he's 10-1. He had the illegal DQ. Was it Diego?
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, he's 10-1 in my book. And then his only loss was the Tristan Connolly debut, where it's actually when Hunter Azure fought Brad Katona up in Vancouver.
Okay,
and I think that was the card. And yeah, it was because Tristan Connolly was there. He's Canadian, and Michel was in the sauna for like 3 days before weigh-ins.
The fact that he could ever make that. Remember Anthony Johnson back in the day?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Weighing 250 and makes 170.
Yeah, it was nuts. So he was like cutting. Of course, he won round one and death gas and Tristan Connolly, whatever. But Michel is so freaking good. He really is legitimately good. But then we've seen some of his, even his pre-UFC stuff, man, just getting knocked out and starched and weird stuff, like kind of almost Johnny Walker-esque. And
they're good friends. So that's funny.
Getting these. And then you have Hernandez, who just won't die and is so phenomenal. But the issue with Hernandez, dynamic strikers, like even the Holland fight, throwing the knee to the body and getting hit. Kopylov is hitting him, and he weathered the Kopylov storm and got through and did all the right stuff. Michel is just so freaking, it's almost like we talk about the aura right now. And like the aura, if we're talking about aura side, is Michel. Like he's the aura. He's just, I mean, his last 3 fights are like one punch deathing people.
He's looked incredible.
It's unreal. And then I just can't help think if it gets past round 1, it's all fluffy.
I think honestly, past round 2.5 for me.
Oh no, yeah, I'm, a little hyperbole over here, like a little bit, but really, if Michel has a 90% winning chance starting of the fight, when round 2 starts, it's like a 60% winning chance. Round 3 starts, it's like a 20% winning chance. In my head, like the way it's like such big levels right here. But in round 1, he is so freaking dangerous. And his jiu-jitsu is good. His everything is good. I just worry about, is he going to put him away? It's kind of like you see these things happen once the MO of a fighter comes up. Rob Font was so good. And then you just kind of realize, okay, I just got to take him down. And it's like, man, that's going to be a really hard thing for Rob Font to overcome this late in his career where he's at. You kind of see it. And with Michel, you really know what he's going to be doing. And Fluffy's stand-up is getting better and better and better. In my head, I say Michel just beats his ass. He's just the more dynamic guy. And then I'm like, man, but Fluffy beats all of those guys who are supposed to beat him once round 2 starts.
I'm going to make an equivalent.
Okay, give me something. And you know where I'm going. So I'm really wishy-washy on it because it really is such big plus side for Michel and it's really big plus side for Hernandez. So
well, the way to bet this, I think, is super easy. You start with a good chunk of Michel pre, and then as the fight goes, you can start to hedge out and work your way into Fluffy, especially if he's on death's door. Fluffy to me is Iron Turtle. He's like kind of small and like not super jacked and unathletic and whatever. And he can absolutely just get even who's the Brazilian guy? Thiago Moises.
Yeah.
They're all super, very, very, very talented, great grapplers, but they can just get starched. Just
go down.
Yeah. Like Joel Alvarez and Thiago Moises, when Alvarez was just like, all right, fuck you. And I'm just going to throw a million elbows at your face and I'm going to kill you in one round. That's how Fluffy can be to me. But then if you let the fight go on and on and on, now he works his way back into the fight and he looks really, really good. God, this whole card to me is a lot of these kind of fights. It's like, man, this is so close.
Yeah.
And if one person makes one mistake and the other, I kind of feel that Michel at this weight is a handful. I think he can hurt Fluffy and kind of keep him guessing and keep him at bay, at least for the game that he wants. So Michel at plus money to start, it's pretty nice. And you can work your way back into a Fluffy bet, but I'm going to go Michel.
Everything in me says, it's one of those ones, you said it last week about a fight. You're like, man, both of those are right. And after the fight, it's going to make perfect sense how this was supposed to play out. And that's what I feel like this fight is. It's like, man, Michel starches him in the first 2 rounds, or it's like, of course, Fluffy defended, took his time, found his way in, and just mauled, Michel and wore him out. Like it's going to look so obvious after the fact in this fight. Man,
pressure's on.
I know. And the reason the pressure's on, I'm so main events. Like I'm the worst at main events. So what I was gonna, even last week I said, hey, Tyra wins. Of course, Tyra lost. Whatever it was before that, I said the wrong one and the wrong one, the wrong one.
All right, so pick Fluffy so I can feel good.
No, that's what I was gonna say. Is I was right about to say I think Michel wins, and so just for nothing more than that, I'm like I'm thinking Hernandez. But then I'm like, I'm not going to fall into the trap, and I'm going Michel.
You're reversing my reverse.
Yes, I reversed a reverse.
Holy shit.
I reversed it.
I lost track.
So uno on me. Pereira, Michel. Hey, before we go, I've got a fight offer for our guy Mahashate, and I'm going to show you, but not you. We'll see you guys later.
Woo!